I always figured if I got arrested at work, it would be for something cool like tackling a robber or setting a world record for fastest coffee pour, not for refusing to give a random woman free gas. Yet there I was, standing behind the counter at 9:42 a.m. on a Thursday, watching a woman with a "Freedom isn't free" bumper sticker dial 911 and tell them she was being held hostage by a minimum wage worker armed with a bad attitude. When the dispatcher asked if she was in immediate danger, Karen Holloway, bless her dramatic heart, screamed, "He's denying my human rights!" loud enough for the customers inside the store to duck for cover. That's how it all started. A simple note turned into a sheriff call, a Facebook Live disaster, and the single most ridiculous day of my life. It had begun like any other slow-burning shift at Marty's Gas and Go, with my best friend Jesse juggling 2 cups of burnt coffee while narrating the arrival of every single customer like a sports commentator. The station smelled like a mix of rubber tires and stale hot dogs, which, around here, was just part of the brand. Thursdays were cursed, we both agreed, since somehow all the weirdos decided to stop by right after morning rush hour. I was halfway through restocking the gum rack when the roar of an engine ripped through the parking lot and a battered gray minivan skidded to a stop across 2 handicapped spaces. Jessie poked her head out from the stockroom, eyes lighting up like Christmas morning. $5 says this one asks if the air pump is free, she said. I grunted. I wasn't in the mood for games. The driver's side door slammed open and out she came, clutching her oversized designer purse like a weapon. Karen Holloway was the kind of woman you could smell the entitlement on from across the lot, giant sunglasses perched on her forehead, phone already recording, lips pursed tighter than a jar lid screwed on by the Hulk. She marched inside like she owned the place, planting herself in front of the counter so aggressively that even the lottery scratch-off guy edged away. Pump 3. Fill it. Full tank. No, she barked, snapping her fingers. No greeting. No please. No card or cash handed over. I stared at her for a beat, waiting for the punchline. Sure, I said slowly. Just as soon as you pay. Her eyes widened like I just asked her to donate a kidney. Excuse me? She gasped. I'm a loyal customer. I always fill up here and settle later. Jessie let out a strangled laugh from behind the coffee counter, pretending to sneeze into a napkin. I wiped my hands on my apron and gave Karen my best fake customer service smile. Yeah, that's not a thing, I said. Cash or card before pump. Station policy. Karen's face flushed a deep, satisfying shade of maroon. She whipped out her phone and started recording. This young man, she announced, angling the camera like she was live from the war zone, is refusing to serve a woman in need. Discrimination. Pure discrimination. Mrs. Fletcher, a regular who came in every morning for scratch-offs and grape soda, leaned on the counter and muttered under her breath. Discrimination against stupidity ain't illegal, honey. Karen ignored her and kept filming. You think you're smart? She shrieked at me. You just wait. You have no idea who you're messing with. Oh, I've got a pretty solid idea, Jessie called over cheerfully. That's when Karen stomped back outside and, in a move that would later become the stuff of local legend, called 911. Through the window, we could see her pacing back and forth dramatically, one hand clutching the phone, the other gesturing wildly like she was directing traffic. Every few seconds she'd glance inside to make sure we were watching. Part of me was annoyed, but another part of me, the bigger part, was deeply entertained. Jessie popped a piece of gum in her mouth and grinned at me. $10 says it's Dave on duty today, she said. And he gives her the speech. The speech? I asked. Jessie smirked. The Karen, sit-down speech. Classic. Sure enough, less than 10 minutes later, a squad car pulled up, lights flashing lazily in the mid-morning sun. Sheriff Dave, a local legend in his own right, stepped out. He was wearing mirrored sunglasses and the kind of expression that said he had absolutely no patience left for whatever circus act was about to unfold. Karen ran up to him, sobbing into her phone, and pointed at me like I was a wanted criminal. I crossed my arms and leaned back against the counter, already predicting the next 10 minutes of my life. Sheriff Dave sauntered inside, tipping an invisible hat to Mrs. Fletcher, who winked at him. "Morning," he said to me, voice low and gravelly. "Busy day?" "You have no idea," I said. Outside, Karen was still ranting at full volume. Sheriff Dave held up one finger to me, the universal sign for, "Give me a second," and wandered back out to hear her statement. We all pressed our faces against the window like kids at a candy shop. It was like watching bad theater. Karen gestured wildly at her car, mine being handcuffed, then clutched her chest like she was about to faint. Sheriff Dave listened patiently, nodding every so often, and then finally spoke, too softly for us to hear. Karen's jaw dropped. She stomped her foot. She waved her phone again. Sheriff Dave just kept talking, calm as a sleeping cat. Eventually, Karen threw her hands up in defeat and stomped back to her car, screeching tires as she peeled out of the lot without a single drop of gas. When Sheriff Dave came back inside, he shook his head and sighed. "You know," he said, taking off his sunglasses, "you really ought to start charging admission for the shows you put on here." Jessie leaned over the counter and whispered, "Did she really call 911 over gas?" Sheriff Dave grinned. "Said she was being economically oppressed." Mrs. Fletcher cackled so hard she dropped her scratch-offs. As the sheriff left, I realized two things. One, Karen wasn't finished with us yet, not by a long shot. And two, if this was just the beginning, the rest of the day was about to get way crazier. Sheriff Dave had barely pulled out of the parking lot before Jessie started a slow clap from behind the counter. I took a mock bow and tossed a pack of gum into the air, catching it with a flourish. It felt like we had dodged a bullet, but there was a buzzing in the air that told me the fight wasn't over yet. Karen's departure had been too loud, too dramatic, and way too unfinished for her to let it go. Jessie leaned in and whispered, "You think she's plotting in her minivan right now, or do you think she's already texting her Facebook cult?" I laughed but felt a small pit of anxiety open in my gut. In a town this small, reputations traveled faster than car engines could rev, and Karen Holloway had the unique talent of turning small inconveniences into national tragedies, at least in her mind. We didn't have to wonder long. 15 minutes later, just as I was wiping down the slushy machine and trying to scrape off what looked suspiciously like a melted gummy worm, a deep rumble of tires announced Karen's triumphant return. But she wasn't alone. This time, she brought backup. A second minivan, decorated with American flags and handwritten signs reading, "Justice for Karen," pulled into the lot behind her. Out tumbled 3 women in matching t-shirts that said, "Mama Bears United." Each of them was carrying a homemade protest sign, and one of them was filming the gas station on her phone like she was documenting a crime scene. Jessie nearly dropped the coffee pot she was holding. "Oh my God, she brought a flash mob," she whispered, horrified and thrilled at the same time. I wiped my hands on my apron and braced myself as Karen marched inside once again, this time brandishing a clipboard. "I am officially filing a formal complaint," she announced, slamming the clipboard onto the counter so hard that it made the cash register beep. "I have witnesses. I have video proof. I have a right to service." I tried my best to stay calm, but the absurdity of the situation was starting to wear down my last shred of patience. "Ma'am," I said carefully, "you refuse to pay. We cannot pump your gas unless you pay first. It's not personal, it's literally the law." Karen's eyes flashed with the fury of 1,000 entitled Yelp reviews. "This is about discrimination," she hissed. "You saw my car. You saw my political stickers. You judged me and refused to serve me because of my beliefs." Jessie snorted loudly enough to draw everyone's attention. Mrs. Fletcher, still scratching away at a lottery ticket at the window, shook her head and muttered something about idiots multiplying faster than rabbits. Karen turned back to her squad outside, waving her clipboard triumphantly. "He admits it! He admits discrimination!" she shrieked. One of her, Mama Bears, actually whooped like they were at a rodeo. I was starting to wonder if I had slipped into an alternate dimension where logic and facts had no meaning. As the mini-protest continued outside, Jessie leaned against the wall, chewing gum like she was watching daytime TV. "What's the over-under on how long before Dave comes back?" she asked. 15 minutes? 10? We didn't have to wait long. Sheriff Dave pulled up again, this time without the sirens, but with a look that suggested he was seriously considering early retirement. He walked inside, tipped his hat at Mrs. Fletcher again, and sighed deeply. "All right," he said, rubbing his temples. "What's the situation this time?" Karen shoved her phone into his face, the screen flashing a grainy video of me standing behind the counter, looking vaguely bored while she screamed about her rights. "I have footage," she declared. "Footage of this man refusing to provide essential services. I demand a citizen's arrest." Sheriff Dave stared at her for a long, uncomfortable moment. Then he turned to me. "You threaten her?" "Nope," I said. "Physically assault her?" "Nope." "Hold her against her will?" "Nope. In fact, she left twice." Sheriff Dave scratched his chin thoughtfully, then turned back to Karen. "You want him arrested for refusing to give you free gas?" Karen stomped her foot again. "It's about principles," she screamed. "I am a taxpayer." Jessie, unable to contain herself, whispered loudly, "Someone get her a gold medal for bravery." Sheriff Dave ignored her and asked Karen flat out if she had paid for the gas she wanted. When she admitted, rather proudly, that she hadn't, Dave shook his head like a disappointed dad. "Ma'am," he said, "this isn't a civil rights violation. It's not even a criminal case. It's you throwing a tantrum because you didn't get what you wanted." Karen turned redder than a fire hydrant. "I will not be spoken to like this," she barked. "I will be contacting my lawyer." Sheriff Dave shrugged. "Go ahead. Meanwhile, I'm issuing you a citation for misuse of emergency services. And I suggest you leave before you rack up more." Karen grabbed the clipboard, spun on her heel, and stormed out of the store, her mini-army following close behind, still filming everything as if they were going to uncover some hidden government conspiracy at the gas and go. Jessie watched them go, shaking her head in disbelief. "Well," she said, popping another bubble of gum, "that's not gonna be the end of it." She was right. Before the sun set that evening, Karen had uploaded her shaky Facebook video, tagging it with dramatic captions like, "Assaulted at gas station," and "Boycott Marty's." Within an hour, the video had dozens of shares from people who either thought she was the next Rosa Parks, or just loved a good train wreck. Some commenters praised her bravery. Others, clearly from town, posted laughing emojis and inside jokes that made it clear everyone knew exactly who Karen Holloway was. By the time my shift ended, my phone had blown up with texts from friends sending me screenshots and memes. Someone had even made a parody account called Karen Gaslight Holloway, posting fake testimonials about how she had once demanded free Wi-Fi at a Blockbuster that had been closed for 10 years.